Making the move to Lifeways. Ross's mum, Annie.
Hi, I'm Annie Saunders, mother of Ross, who's now 38. Lived with us till he was 37 and moved here in March of this year.
Could you tell us a little about Ross's story?
Ross has lived with us since birth. Been very hard to take in everything that happened to him after his birth, born with cerebral palsy. And we did everything that we could to help him along his journey. We were told he would never walk, talk and have to use sign language, which I wasn't prepared, or we weren't prepared to accept. But he's done more than we could ever dreamed of, and talks very well and has a fantastic memory.
What made you consider outside support?
We felt as we were getting older, my husband is now 75 and I'm 70, we needed to let him leave us, but it was a very hard decision to make because I just felt that nobody could look after Ross as we did. We can't thank Lifeways, Tristan and Mark and Lorna, who I spoke to initially, that assured us that everything would be fine and not to try and worry too much. We also were very worried that as we were getting older, to look after Ross was becoming increasingly difficult. We only were allowed, probably in his late 20s, 15 hours a week respite, which really, we didn't seem to get a break at all. And as the time went on, getting him up and putting him to bed became a real chore for us. Not his fault at all, but because of the situation that we were in. So we eventually had a carer that would come in 15 hours a week so we could go shopping or go out. But we also have a daughter younger than Ross that lives at home, and all her life she's had to cope with us looking after Ross and caring for him. And Ross used to get very frustrated and used to get really upset at times, and Brian and I just couldn't cope with all the outbursts that we used to get. But eventually I did get the courage to ring up the social worker that then put me in touch with Lorna, and she reassured me. It was hard talking to her, but she sort of made our minds up that yes, it was time for Ross to leave home.
Did you have any initial concerns or worries?
We were very worried about Ross, his personal care, because that can be quite sort of involved, and his eating and drinking. We had a problem with him choking, but touch wood, since he's been here, we've had none of that. He's eating really well and drinking and really enjoying his life here, which is what we wanted for him.
How did you find out about supported living?
How we found out about supported living, I was asked 3 years ago by one of the managers at the day centre that Ross went to. And she said, I think it's about time you started to cut the apron strings, to which I wasn't very happy about. Not happy about, but felt very sort of worried about it. And as time went on, they then got in touch told me to ring a social worker, which I did. But it was a very hard decision. Everyone had kept telling me that I should make it, but at the time I couldn't. I'd never heard of Lifeways before, and until I researched it on the internet, and obviously speaking to Lorna about it, yes, so I didn't even know they existed, so it's a shame really more people don't know about it.
How did Ross feel about the idea of moving away from home?
I used to ask Ross, would you like your own front door key? And his response was, no. So I said, well, wouldn't it be nice to have your own front door? No. So just before Christmas, Brian and I came out for a drive to have a look to see where St Thomas House was. And as we pulled it in, I can't believe he said this, but he said, is this going to be my new home? And I said, yes, if you want it to be. And he said, I love it. And that was it.
How did you make the decision to go ahead?
I think the thing that made us more comfortable when we first met Tristan, because we were worried how the staff would cope with Ross and did have quite tantrums at one stage, and we've had a few ups and downs, but they've come through it all, and he's been brilliant. So I think the staff here are brilliant.
How did the move-in process go?
Initially, when Ross first came here, it was like he was all new and it was all exciting, and he said, well, I think we used to visit. He said, I think it's about time you left now. And when we visit sometimes, he said, well, aren't you going home now? So yeah, initially it was, and then we had a few ups and downs, but that was to do with his care, and we sorted it all out. It's very difficult giving someone to look after like Rossi, but they've coped with it really well.
What changes have you seen in Ross since the move to Lifeways?
Yeah, we have seen many changes in Ross. He's more happy, he loves all the people here, he loves the residents. He's made friends with Nathan across the corridor, which is lovely, and they both love Norwich City, so they have a great thing in common. But the change, everybody says, he's put weight on, he looks really well, so we're really, really pleased that he loves it.
How has your family dynamic changed?
Life is very different at home. The house, at first, we felt really strange, having had him since he was a baby, living at home. But I think my husband has taken it worse than I have, actually. Not worse, only in the fact that he misses Ross being at home, and I do, but it's just nice to be able to go out when we want to, have time with Tara now, which we never had before. So really, we have the best of both worlds, because we can come anytime to visit him. And Ross and Tara actually get on better now than they've ever done before. So we actually forget that he's not at home. And people say, well, are you going to come out? And I go, well, no, I don't think. Oh, yes, we can now. We can make that decision now just to be able to go out, to go shopping, to go visiting friends, which was very difficult sometimes because, as you know, disability and out in the public, there's not that many good facilities. So we can't believe, it's like being married again, although you've got children now, but yeah, it is lovely to go out, to be able to go out.
How do you feel about the future?
Well, I think Ross is now having a life. He's now, because when he was younger in a special school, and the friends come from all over Norfolk, so they don't actually build up a relationship with any one person because they all live so far apart. In fact, I used to ask some of his friends from school to come and visit Ross, but they'd end up in the kitchen with me, and Ross would be in his room watching the television. So that didn't always work out, but no, he's got freedom now, and he's not got mum and dad breathing down his neck all the time.
Do you have any advice for other parents?
I think the advice I'd give to any parent when I see young mothers with a child with a disability, I would always say no to any help, any respite whatsoever, because I didn't think anyone could look after him. And I would always say to the mother of a disabled child, if you're offered it, take it, because you need time to relax, you need time to take stock of everything. Not only that, the child deserves to meet other people as well. So it's a win-win situation.
For more advice and information on a move into supported living, call 0333 321 4881 or visit lifeways.co.uk. Lifeways, yes to you.